Today, we're looking at a green ink from Montblanc, John Swift. Now, as always, there's timestamps you can skip around, but if you've got the time, it really does help me out if you check out the entire video. Also, if you like green inks, there's a link to that playlist down in the description. Now, if you're new here, hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. And if you're not new here, welcome back. Many of the writing samples are done with the idea of some standardization. The first three are done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Let's take a look at the first one, 90 GSM Clairfontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, some very nice shading going on. Look at how John, the right side of the J is darker than the left side of the J. It gets lighter into the N. Look at how Swift is got some really neat shading where it goes mid to dark to mid to dark. Not too bad. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub, maybe a shade lighter, with no feathers spread, halo sheen, decent shading. Brown starts dark and works its way light. Quick is dark to light to dark to light between the C and the K, and then dark again. Lazy, very dark to mid-tones to lighter to very dark, 7 seconds to dry. Medium is lighter than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, nice shading. Quick is much lighter with darker letters in it like the right side of the K or the dot of the I. Brown is dark to light to dark. It's really kind of a camouflagey thing going on here. 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show some color variation, more in the medium, but more showed in the medium. And the smear test says you could likely recover if you smeared while you were writing. In order to have a range of experience with this ink, in every writing sample, the Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub is used, the Jinhao X450 with a medium, and the Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then, a Nimicine Singularity with a fine nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. Up next is the second standard paper 52 GSM Tomoe River. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread. It has some haloing if you look at what's going on in John in the darker spots. In the S of Swift, the bottom of the F in Swift, so there are some halo spots. It has no sheen, it does shade. Again, where it is darker, it has halo, like the bottom of the F, the right side of the J. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread. It has halo that comes with the darker parts of the shading, no sheen. So the B in brown is a bit darker and has a little bit of halo, gets lighter as it moves. The K in quick, the Q in quick, darker with a little bit of halo, 12 seconds to dry. Medium is much lighter than the extra fine with no feather spread, no halo, no sheen, yes shading. Quick goes dark to light to dark. Brown goes dark to light, Fox goes light to dark. 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show some color variation, much more in the medium because it's much lighter. And the smear test says if you smeared while you were writing, you likely lost it. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down and then it's put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see there's this green, and right above that green is some blue and very bright greens moving up. And in fact, a very light green moved past what I initially thought was the water line where it stopped. The one on the right was let dry for 10 minutes before it went into water. And you see a lot more of that has really stayed in the line. The first one has a lot in the line. It's showing some permanence here. But the second one had a lot more stay. It also showed off much more than the green, but this kind of purple tone pushing up, and then this highlighter green along the top. Might be a little resistant here. The last standard paper is 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread halo sheen. It does shade, like quick goes dark to light to dark, brown goes dark to light to dark to light to dark. Not bad. Again, reminding me of that camouflage like shading, 6 seconds to dry. Medium is a little bit lighter than the extra fine with no feather spread halo sheen. The shading, not too bad here. Wish it was a little more. The goes light to dark. Quick goes dark to light to dark. Brown goes dark to light to dark to light to dark to light to dark. Not bad at all. 9 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both are showing some pretty good color variation, which we are getting. And a smear test, you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on a page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pens. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before it's tested. Looking at the highlighter, this ink did not budge at all, so if you had a bottle of this and wanted to use it as a note-taking ink, it will work incredibly well. Look at that water. Water is only lifting a little bit of the ink, not tons of it off the paper, not tons at all. Pen flush is barely doing anything to make this ink budge. It is lifting its darkest tones, but leaving most of it. 1/3 bleach solution is getting just about all of the ink off the page, leaving the page a little discolored. Now, it only took water to get this out of my pen. For the additional writing samples, the paper is changed up all the time just to keep things a little more interesting with some more experience. This next paper is TWSBI notebook paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread halo sheen. It does offer some shading. Look at how the right side of the J is a bit darker than the left side of the J in John. Swift starts darker, gets lighter, gets much darker into the F and T. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread halo sheen. Not a lot of shading coming through on this paper. 7 seconds to dry. Medium is lighter than the extra fine with no feather spread halo sheen, not bad shading. Quick goes from light to dark. Brown goes from mid-tone to light to mid-tone, where Fox goes light to dark. 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows no color variation. We had none. The medium shows some, and we had some. Not bad, pretty close matches. The smear test says you can likely recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Montblanc's John Swift has a viscosity of 4.32, putting it off my chart. It's an outlier, which means its result is probably a bit unreliable, or this is a freak show of an ink. If you're interested in how the viscosity tests are done or how that table is computed, then there's a link to that video down in the description. The next writing sample is done on monocoque paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread halo sheen. Some shading, like the right side of John, is darker than the left side of John. Not a ton though. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread halo sheen. Better shading. Brown starts dark, gets lighter, gets darker. Fox goes from light to dark to, from dark to light to dark. Jumps, starts lighter and gets darker. 8 seconds to dry. Medium is lighter than the extra fine with no feather spread halo sheen. The shading is a bit better. Quick goes dark to light to dark. Brown is all light. All of it, all the way across. Fox goes light to dark. 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows no color variation, and there barely was. The medium shows decent, and probably shows it better here than it was in the writing. The smear test, you probably could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Montblanc's John Swift has an average dry time of 11 seconds, making this a bit faster drying than normal. The last writing sample is done on Leuchtturm 1917 paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade pretty well. Look at again the left side of the J, very different than the rest of John. The W, I in Swift, much lighter than the rest of the word. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading going on here. And it's very subtle back and forth from mid to light tones, like quick is mid to light to mid to light to darker on the K. Brown starts dark and gets light. Fox goes lighter to darker. 5 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine. With no feather spread, halo sheen, decent shading, not too bad. Brown goes dark to light to dark. Jumps goes from light to dark. Lazy goes from dark to light. And 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show some good color variation, and we're getting it in the smear test, though I do not think you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Montblanc's John Swift, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Being that this particular green has quite a bit of shading that it can have, I wanted a yellow that could do kind of the same thing. I went with Atramentis Gandhi Yellow. So what do I think of Montblanc's John Swift? This has a very nice camouflage shading combined with a very good tone. Its tone is affected a lot by the pen you put it in, and to be honest, I don't need a bottle. The sample was enough for me to play with, but this is a great ink. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? I found that dry pens made the color look a bit washed out, and wet pens really kind of killed the shading that it has. You really want to use a medium flow, medium to fine nib to get that best tone and bring out a bunch of that shading. I hope you got something out of this video, and tomorrow we're taking a look at a red shimmering ink by J. Herbin, Rouge Hematite.